Welcome to this edition of Afro Perspectives. We are a channel dedicated to highlighting the challenges faced by ordinary Zimbabweans in their quest for a fair and just Zimbabwe. A Zimbabwe that works for everyone who lives in it. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through recent developments, specifically Vice President Constantino Chiwenga's declaration that corruption in Zimbabwe is now a security threat. I will also show you how Chiwenga's speech is just another chapter in the ongoing factional fights in ZANU-PF. But before we start on the meat and bones of today's discussion, please like and subscribe to our channel. We are only a small channel and your support will help us grow. Constantino Chiwenga has recently declared corruption is now a security threat, undermining the rule of law and eroding public trust in private and public institutions. He was speaking in Vic Falls at the gathering of Chartered Governance and Accountancy Institute. These were his exact words. It is important to recognize that corruption represents a serious threat to our nation's progress, distorting markets, undermining the rule of law, and eroding public function as professionals in key positions across both private and public institutions. Without focusing on individuals, let's look at corruption in the Zimbabwean context. Remember the $100 million spent on Zimbabwe Airways planes which never actually flew on a single commercial flight. Then we have the country buying snow graders unsuitable for a country which does not experience any snowy conditions at all. Then we have Wicknell Chivayo and the numerous tenders which he has been corruptly awarded. That's just the few instances of corruption. And then this is the first and only time I have found myself agreeing with Constantino Chiwenga. The only problem I have with his observation is simply that he is not addressing ordinary Zimbabweans. His audience is his faction within ZANU-PF, the generals, the Coast faction. Then there is a statutory body tasked with fighting corruption in Zimbabwe. It's called the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, the ZAC. If Chiwenga as vice president has any information, I do not know why he thinks making declarations at a conference for accountants is the best way to address the scourge of corruption. Why does he not summon the ZAC commissioners and ask them for specific details on each case? He can start with Wicknell Chivayo and his associates. In Zimbabwe, fighting corruption is now being weaponized by different factions within ZANU-PF. Remember November 2017 when we were told by Subusisi Somoyo that there were criminal elements which were surrounding Robert Mugabe. Now we have Chiwenga. He is coming with the same sort of issue. What is different? But he is still no longer wearing a military uniform. But he is still a threat, at least to Mnangagwa and his faction. He has a direct line to generals at the King George VI barracks. Oh, sorry, it is now the Josiah Tongogara barracks. Well, Chiwenga talks of the rule of law. It's cheap talk when people like Chiwenga start running around giving speeches on the rule of law. The rule of law is about the military upholding the constitution and allowing the people of Zimbabwe to choose leaders of their own choice. Chiwenga and his fellow generals are responsible for the mess Zimbabwe is currently in. Take for instance 2002 and 2008. They defeated the opposition on both occasions, taking over power. Then the same Chiwenga, who is now a champion of the rule of law, executed the coup of November 2017. He has been the chief architect overseeing the systematic rigging of elections both in 2018 and 2023. Chiwenga would want us to believe that he is championing the crusade against corruption and looting of public resources. The only observation I can make is that Chiwenga and his fellow generals, their hands dirty just like his opponents in ZANU-PF. Take for instance the plunder of state-owned corporations. The military generals own Landela Mining Ventures, a company that has been responsible for the looting of the Zimbabwe Mining Development Corporation. I do not have enough space to go into the details about the activities of the generals. and how they are looting the country dry. For those who are interested, I will attach links to websites in the comments box. So the message about corruption was taken seriously, not as we expected by those who attended the Chartered Governance and Accountancy Institute, but by his opponents in ZANU-PF. Immediately after issuing that veiled threat, Emmerson Mnangagwa decided he was no longer going to New York, where he was supposed to address the United General Assembly. One can only imagine why Emmerson Mnangagwa decided not to go. The threat of a coup is one plausible explanation. ZANU-PF, since Luke Matuke revealed plans to give Emmerson Mnangagwa a third term, has been in a state of panic. It's an open civil war. Then there is the helicopter crash on the 15th of September. Both factions are making political capital out of the incident. Praise singers from the Lacoste faction claim Emmerson Mnangagwa was supposed to be on the plane. At the same time, sympathizers of the General's faction, the Koslek faction, have gone public with accusations that the real target was Chiwenga. Let's suppose that the helicopter crashed because of a mechanical failure, say through age or wear and tear. Then why would anyone be a target under such circumstances? It does not make sense at all. Is there something that we are not being told? Is ZANU-PF now resorting to using helicopters as its method of assassination instead of the usual staged car accidents? In another significant development, Opam Chinguru immediately went on social media and announced that there were changes to ZANU-PF's annual conference slated for October 22 at the Trade Fair grounds in Bulawayo. The threat from the generals, it seems, has forced Mnangagwa's faction to revisit their plans for what they call Vision 2030. In public, they will tell you that Vision 2030 is aimed at industrializing the country, but that's all a diversion. Like everything else to do with ZANU-PF, the real Vision 2030 is a third term for Emmerson Mnangagwa. The original plan, in terms of what was agreed during the 2017 coup, was for Chiwenga to take over from Emmerson Mnangagwa upon expire of his current term in 2028. At this coming conference on 22, Emmerson Mnangagwa wished to elect Chiwenga as successor to Emmerson Mnangagwa, who is currently the party president. But that now has been thrown out of the window. Emmerson Mnangagwa now has other plans, and those plans do not include Chiwenga. Opam Chinguri has shed light on what is in store. For some reason, she was calling herself chairman of ZANU-PF. I thought she was chairwoman, but then that's besides the point. Mchinguri has declared that there were changes to the number of delegates attending. From the original 4,000 delegates that were slated to attend the conference, the numbers attending have now been slashed down to members of the Politburo and the Central Committee. So there you have it. The Politburo has only 49 members, while the Central Committee has 230 members. So instead of 4,000 people voting, you now have 279. Mchinguri is saying that the agenda is not yet known, but to anyone familiar with the factional fights in ZANU-PF, it's all about the third term and the amendments to the 2013 constitution. Now the revised agenda is to push for the abolition of the two posts of vice president and then vote for the reintroduction of the post of a female vice president. Mabel Chinomona is the favorite to land that post. ZANU-PF, at least Mnangagwa's faction, is making sure that the reduced number of delegates will guarantee its favored outcome. Judging by utterances from a number of praise singers, that plan is going to sail through. It's only a matter of time. So what is likely to be Chiwenga's response this time? Well, Chiwenga has already fired the first shot, literally. He is going to keep on hammering about corruption as a security threat. Well, thank you for tuning in, and if you have found this discussion useful, please like and subscribe. You can also help us grow by sharing this post with your friends. Thank you. Bye.